Welcome everybody to Fights Clean, Sex Dirty TV.
And Relationship Fun and Games. We're Gabby and Raj Sundra, and we are thrilled to have you join us tonight. Whether this is your 36th episode like ours or your first, welcome, welcome, and congratulations for taking a step towards having the most playful, peaceful, passionate relationship. Because we all know life is difficult. I often say life is too tough to do alone, but a crappy relationship is worse than none at all. And a wonderful one, it may take something, but it's totally worth it. So congratulations and bravo for being here today.
So we are in season 5, the season of peace, and we are so honored to be here with Susan and Tim. Welcome tonight, and thank you so much for being on our show tonight. It's always a blast to have you.
And actually, I want to hear from Susan and Tim. And Raj, go ahead and share the screen because I want to show them their bios at first, and we'll do the little official background. But just to plant the seed now, we love hearing stories of either how you met or what's your philosophy as a couple. I know you guys have been together for, is that right? Almost 20 years?
25.
25, yeah.
25 years, well past the 20 years. So your secret for keeping it, and I know you guys have a wonderful story, so we're looking forward to hearing that, but I'll give them a little bit about your official bio as well. I met Susan and Tim actually at a wedding a few years ago and instantly hit it off because we both love, and we want couples to be really enjoying, the combination of having a playmate where they're having a lot of fun, having their sanctuary where they feel safe and they can explore and express themselves, and having passion, a lover, something that keeps, that really exciting in their relationship. And I think it's been over a decade that you've been with Personal Life Media now. Is that right?
Yes. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary of starting our company together to teach people how to have more intimacy and passion.
And the ripple effect that you have created has been awesome and reaching men and women, singles and couples. It's been fantastic. You can see here the depth and breadth. Actually, this is just a slice of the depth and breadth of their work here. From their online sex ed courses, the Steamy Sex Ed, which we're going to give you a free gift to give you a little stepping stone towards that later on today. Raj and I love that product. Even the most basic video, just the sensual massage, forget all the sex tips, but the sensual massage, whew, that led to some pretty steamy evenings right there. So we'll tell you more about that. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's Expanding Her Orgasm Tonight, the multi-orgasmic lover. You might have heard of some of these, even the female liquid orgasm. I mean, really, and what I love is it's not just her content, but she's working with wonderful people like Jim Benson and Tallulah Sulis. Is that how you pronounce her name, Sulis?
Yeah, the best of the best.
Right.
That's what I would say.
The best of the best, yes. And there is so much junk out there in the sex advice realm, or just weird. And I've just loved what you've done with the variety of the products that you've had there. So welcome. Thanks for being here. And let's give the audience a little bit about who Tim and Susan are for themselves and for the world. We just love your ripple effect.
Well, I guess I'd like to start out by saying that the reason that Tim and I have now been in business for a decade helping other people have more passion and intimacy is because when we were about 10 years into our marriage, we almost got divorced. And we didn't want to lose each other. We were best friends, but we had stopped being lovers, or it was not going well for us. And there are so many things that come into play in a relationship, a long-term monogamous relationship, that make it hard for you to keep getting excited about having sex together. And we rekindled our passion by going out and learning how to have good sex. And once we did that, our sex life just keeps getting better and better. Mm-hmm. We just keep getting more deeply connected, more orgasmic. We get more comfortable together. And it goes through its cycles, but it's good. It's solid now. We love to be together. We carve out time. I know one of the things we're going to talk about is why people stink at scheduled sex. And scheduling sex is so important. But really what I'd like Tim to talk about for just a second is what it was like before you learned how to get me turned on and want you again, and what you think were maybe the most pivotal things that you didn't know that you know now that you could tell someone else. Like, why, if someone is in a relationship and they feel like they're just, the passion is gone, it's going through the motions, what do you know that they don't know? What hope can you give them?
So when I think about what it was like before, obviously when we first met, it was super hot, super sexy. We were crazy about each other, and the sex was really good, and I was very happy. Susan was happy.
Yeah.
5 to 10 years in, it wasn't quite so good. Like 10 years in, we really were not having great sex. It was disconnected. And
mercy sex. I was giving him mercy sex as little as I possibly could.
Yeah, and I
like, okay, you know, and how hot is that? It's like, fine.
it was miserable, and it made me feel really bad about myself.
You
like
were very unhappy.
I wasn't attractive. Like, you know, I was living with this gorgeous girl who didn't want to have sex with me. It was freaking miserable.
You're like in the candy store and you can't eat any of it.
You begged, you rationalized and reasoned,
pleaded,
ultimatums,
cajole.
How about deals? Did you guys have any of the deals? We worked with a couple once where they had like birthday sex and Christmas sex. I was like, excuse me? I'm here to scheduling sex, but just twice a year as a deal, I don't think that's very inspiring.
It's a bad deal.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what else to do, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'll take it.
Sure. Happy birthday to me!
So one of the things that was pivotal, absolutely pivotal for us, was me learning how to escalate, give Susan small offers. Yeah. So it's not like, hey, baby, you want to have sex tonight? Because, like, you know, guys always want to have sex. And I would always ask her that. And she's all like, no. So I learned, one of the key things I learned is, don't start there. Start with, like, do you want a foot massage or a back rub, or can I get you a cup of tea or a beer, or, you know, draw a bath or something like that. And then slowly escalate step by step.
Raj and I, we have one called show not tell. You know how when you're in school and writing and they say, don't just, you know, tell them. Well, and he walked into the house, you know, he took the extra large step, you know, in his stride, the cadence had, you know, that you want to actually create this whole experience of something, because that was very much the dynamic with Raj and I. Raj would be like, let's have sex. I'd be like, well, it's a great idea, but I was looking for a little more seduction than that.
Yeah, I'm super excited to learn about your seduction tips later on in the show.
Well, that's one of the big ones. We call it running a menu of small offers using something called erotic. And that comes from our Seduction Trilogy program that Dr. Patty Taylor wrote for us, that really takes into account the difference between a woman being, whether she's, you know, where she is she turned on, neutral, turned off, and how to move her into turn on by moving her toward pleasure in very small increments, and being able to read where she is a bit so that you can escalate her offers. So that was a breakthrough. The small offers that Tim was mentioning was a really big breakthrough.
And I'm glad you said that on the reading. Tim, was that, I know we're getting into tips here because it's just so good, but well, it's like a great dinner party conversation, right? But Tim, I'm curious, when the reading your woman is so important, like what's too much, what's not enough, and certainly knows that we give all sorts of confusing signals as well. So did you have that skill? Did you develop that skill? Because there's what you do for the offers, but there's reading. Is it received or is it not received? Because I know we can be confusing.
I'm still learning. I get better at it every day. So yeah, it's not easy. It's never easy. Although I think that's one of the things, like, as you get to know your partner better over time, it does become easier, and you do start to realize, oh, you know, I see, you know, this is, and maybe it's for just better communicating, but the reading does seem to become easier.
One of the things that is that one of the big things you can look for is your woman high strung in the moment, and you need to calm her nervous system down? Or is she kind of needing to be picked up and turned on, switched on? And knowing which direction to start helps you make the right kind of offers. Also, one of the things we really want to talk about on this session with you, Gabby and Raj, is our expanded orgasm practice. Tim has even worn his oming pants. Let me see if I can kind of show them to you here. So these pants that he has on, they're like batik Japanese fisherman pants. And one of the things that we do, how's that? Did I get us at the right?
Yeah.
One of the things that he does those, and he gives me a due date or an expanded orgasm date. And a due date stands for, DO stands for deliberate orgasm. And when we schedule sex, we actually don't schedule intercourse because that's too big an offer.
Right.
We schedule a due date. And a due date is basically what you were talking about, Gabby. You were talking about how much you love the sensual massage and that was the beginning of some explosive dates for you. It's basically a genital massage, but it's an orgasmic genital massage that has some very specific stroke steps, which we're happy to explain. I just want to cede to your process here. But this is what he wears, and this is what he does, is he makes me an offer, because we already have a good sex life now. He makes me an offer for a due date, or I ask him for one. We've been doing it now going over a decade. Once to 3 times a week if we're lucky, because we love doing it, but it takes, time to settle down and have a lovemaking date. But it's pretty much...
Yeah, I know. When people talk about having sex 3 times a day, I think, do you have a life? Like, I'm sorry, that just sounds like, are those all quickies? But I don't know.
They have very short sex. People have very, very short sex. And that's the other thing we wanted to talk about later is engorgement closes the orgasm gap. And the orgasm gap is the fact that 90% of the time or more, a man can have an orgasm from intercourse, from penetrative sex. Yet less than half, if we're lucky, women can have an orgasm from penetrative sex. So a man is always hungry for penetrative sex. And for a woman, it can be very difficult for her because the missing ingredient, one of the biggest ones, is something called engorgement. And we want to talk about clitoral erections, and we want to talk about how you use the due date or the expanded orgasm date to get these clitoral erections that actually help her have penetration orgasm, so she wants to have a lot more intercourse with you. So this whole thing really weaves together.
Awesome. And I love, just even the word engorgement, it's like, you're building curiosity. So let's get to all of these awesome tips. We do have one tip that Raj and I are going to share today for this particular topic. And let's remind everyone where we are in this topic. And then we will dive back in. But I love this. What I hear you really talking about is cultivating, in this seduction. It's not the time beforehand. We did that a few weeks ago where we looked at, what's this space in between when you're just doing the dishes, and even that, leads into seduction. All of these, kind of connect with each other. And now that as it starts into the seduction, which then leads into the during, which of course, with the engorgement. But if you're not putting all of these puzzle pieces together, as Raj has found, things can kind of end in a heartbeat sometimes. You like an elbow to the wrong place. And so we've actually had to learn that once you've gotten on the on-ramps, how to stay in those on-ramps as well. And I love that you guys have tips from all of those different areas. So Raj, why don't you go ahead and share the screen, and we'll give people the visual of our 8 different topics per season.
Okay, great. So Gabby and I really endeavored to have our tools and tips really applicable so you can use them in the moment. A lot
what
of
do I do now?
relationship work out there is like you have to go study the book, and in the middle of sex or in the middle of an argument, you don't have the luxury of going to that book and looking for paragraph 3, whatever. And so what we did was we broke our content into keeping the fights clean and the sex dirty, which some amazing person gave us that advice on our wedding day.
They said that's all you need to know.
Right. And then further, we broke it down into the different time frames. So before you have an argument, as the argument's starting, during and after, and the same with sex. And so tonight we're in How to Keep the Sex Dirty as It Starts. And that's primarily about seduction. And we're really excited to dive into that. And one of the things that we want to let you know is that at about 6 o'clock our time, which is in about 15 or 20 minutes, you're going to be able to jump into the Hangout live with us. You'll click that button below the video window that says Join the Hangout. You might need to refresh the browser window to get that button live if you're having any trouble getting in. One of the things that we will do if you join us is send you our cheat sheet for free on how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty.
And there's an extra gift today, so stay until the end. Susan and Tim, they have a free gift. We mentioned Steamy Sex Ed earlier, and this is a slice from Steamy Sex Ed. This is the top 10 fantasy sex techniques, and we'll give you a little bit more about that later. But again, I can't say enough good things about Steamy Sex Ed. Love this one.
Love it, love it. Okay, so that's just a little bit about how we organize our contents.
So in general, if this is a topic that is super important to you right now, if the seduction is really something that's up in your relationship and you want to bring some of that heat and romance to your relationship, then go ahead and when you go to our website, look for this logo here. You can see the heart with the devil horns. That's for keeping the sex dirty. And then this section colored in for As It Starts. So all of our tips, our blogs, everything that you find there. And just to give you a few specific ones here, setting yourself up for sexiness, booty before brekkie. So many great reasons to have booty before you get the rest of your day started. And there's a great one on how is sex a lot like tripping? Well, that's set and setting. So we have one tip for you here today called Give 'em a Game to Play, and we're going to give you the 1, 2, 3 on how to do that in just a moment. But there is, and Sarah, if you would mind copying that URL and pasting it in the comments. So if you hear this tip tonight and it's a really helpful one for you, we encourage you, go ahead, put this video, bookmark it on your phone, bookmark it on your computer, put it in your calendar on your phone to come up as a reminder every day for a week, so that these aren't just aha moments, but that you actually get to memorize these, but really bring them in on a regular basis until they become second nature and they're a new normal habit. Okay, so let's talk about giving them a game to play, right? Raj and I were all about the P3 relationship, playful, peaceful, and passionate. And we really care that couples, this is so cliche, that the sex starts hot and saucy and spicy, and then it gets stale, predictable, and boring over time. And that's just kind of accepted. But sex is just way, way, way too good to give up on, right? As we said before, wonderful is worth it, right? And so don't accept that is happening. Look at Susan and Tim. They went 10 years in, things weren't so spicy, and now things are better than ever. In fact, I did read an article a few months ago that said they interviewed 1,000 women that had been married for 25 years. And 50% of those women said that the sex was better 25 years into it than it was in the first 10 years. So it's just a given that things are not going to be hot and spicy. Give up on that story. It's not true. It's better. And Tim, what you said yourself about you're always learning. And I just love that attitude that we get the gift of being together for a long time, so you get more comfortable, you get past embarrassment, you really start to stretch your boundaries, you feel loved and accepted for exactly who you are, and you get to go to new depths with that person. All right, we've only been together 11 years, so you guys got, another 14 years ahead of us here. And just really want to acknowledge, though, those of you that are struggling with this issue, time and energy. It is time for sex, to find the energy for sex, and then to get yourself out of the practical, and all of the, honey, did you take out the trash kind of attitude, and really get into something spicy, which is why we're doing this tonight. Tip is all about how to keep it fresh, make it fun, and mix it up and play a game.
Okay, so we call this Give 'em a Game to Play, and there's a number of different games that you can play here along this vein. Okay, so the first one is sharing 2 adjectives.
And if I could just jump in, I know it says it at the bottom here, but we just want to thank Brian Franklin and Jennifer Russell, who do some work called Evolving Love. They do work with companies as well, and they've just done an amazing job at that and have given us some great advice over the years. So this is some ideas that we've gotten from them.
As you see here, you can share 2 adjectives that would turn you on the most, right? So you could ask your partner to represent soft and surrendered, or the demon slut, or whatever comes to you.
Or the soft slut.
The
and the surrendered demon.
Or, you know, oh girl, whatever it is that adjective words that would turn you on, you can ask your partner to embody that. And it's really fun because it's an easy way to mix things up, you know, get out of that stale, predictable sex.
So another one that you might choose is just picking a chakra to base your sexy time session on. So is it a root chakra, you know, the animal chakra? Is it more of a heart opening and connecting? For me, sometimes I really love to focus on the throat and the voice. I love to, you know, open up my voice with the intention and hear, you know, tell Raj, I want to hear this, you know, let's have this be a lot of sound. So you can play around, you know, could be, you know, eyes, and you focus on having a lot of eye contact. Our last marathon lovemaking session, that was so great, all the eye contact with that one. Or your higher consciousness, and you're actually, you know, maybe you're doing some tantra breath and other things that we've talked about in the past. So it's another possible game you could play.
The game you can play is picking an archetype, and what this is that you're taking on a certain character. Maybe it's an actor or a famous person, and you choose one for yourself and one for your partner, and embody that character during your sex session. You can even wear outfits and try to embody the personalities and things of that nature. This could be super fun.
So last reminder here is to ask early and often. You want to have that anticipation. You know, tonight's subject is as it starts. So building that seduction, and that could start much earlier in the day, even the night before, you know, putting a note in your beloved's car before they leave for work, whatever it may be. You know, I say here a text, a note on the bathroom mirror, but ask early and often. Want to play a game? I know a sexy game we could play.
Yeah.
And Susan and Tim, we have an action option here to give them some specific steps, but any thoughts that you have on games that people might play to spice it up and just bring a new attitude to their sex life?
Or even anything about these three different types of games that are listed here. Any flavor you want to add to those?
I love the ones that you have, but I'll relate back to the free gift that we brought, which is the top 10 fantasy sex techniques. And
Yes.
One of the things that we're going to be talking briefly about in this session is agreements and boundaries that create passion. And one of the things that, if you're going to share your fantasies, that makes it really safe to share your fantasies, we like it as a car game. Sometimes we'll just tell our lover one of our most dirty, impossible fantasies while we're driving in the car. And it's really safe to do it that way because we have an agreement that just because I share the fantasy doesn't mean I want to do it. It's just a fantasy. And so there's no expectation that this is anything that's going to happen. This is just crazy stuff I'm thinking in my head. And there's a lot of that.
Nice to preface it that way.
For a lot of people, especially the women that I talk to, they have many fewer fantasies going through their head because they don't masturbate as much as men do.
So one works for a lot longer. The men might need to cycle through new ones. They're getting plenty more experience.
Men, they generally I think men generally are masturbating more frequently. Sometimes they're watching pornography and getting ideas, which women aren't doing, or they're just thinking things up that they've seen and masturbating. Because for a man, his job is to keep his tank topped off. He's always got to have fresh sperm because he's primally driven to replicate himself. And so for women, they just do the choosing. They don't need to have anything ready and topped off. They go into their ovulation. And so guys just generally are they'll kick your butt at fantasy, generally. The girls against the guys, I pick the guy team for fantasy. But a really good at fantasy if her guy brings it out of her. And the way that he brings it out of her is by making it safe, by having a boundary or an agreement that it's just talk. It's just, dirty talk, fun things to talk about. And another thing that you can do that's really fun is, and we do this sometimes while Tim is giving me a due date or an ohm. They're called different things, and I can explain that later. But while he's giving me a pussy massage that gives me orgasms is basically what it is. An expanded orgasm date. He'll pick something he knows is a turn on to me, and he'll tell me a story about it while he's stroking. That can be very hot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really fun little game we play.
Yeah, and when
I like that game. Tell me a story.
what it is, exactly. A super sexy
He's
story.
good at stories.
One of the things I remembered, another thing that I did before the pivot, and that was I would sometimes like shut Susan down when she would maybe share something that she was vulnerable about, or a sexy thought she had.
Like what? What's an example?
Oh, anything. If I were to, like, if you wear something very sexy,
Yeah.
and then I might say, oh, maybe that's a little too sexy, or something like that. Like, it would shut you down.
Yeah.
And then over a couple of years, like, it was a horrible thing to do, and I had no idea.
It was kind of like what you were programmed to do culturally.
I think maybe it was. Who knows? But now I've learned that it's like I just bring it out, and I bring it out, and I bring it out, and I bring it out, so that, like, she wears something sexy, I'm like, that's a sexy outfit. I love that outfit.
Love that. I'm always trying to get Gabby to wear more and more sexy. She's like, is this too revealing?
I always ask you, is this too see-through? He's like, no. Is this too short? No.
Right. Is this too slutty? No.
No.
He'll say, well, you can wear panties, but I'm just going to have to take them off you.
There's a good one.
There's something about the boundaries with the storytelling, that it's just a story, that is really liberating in a way.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
You know, it reminded me, Raj, when we had John Benson on, and he talked about the difference between fantasies, desires, and needs.
Mm-hmm.
So a fantasy is like, I'm going to tell you a fantasy. This isn't even in the realm of doing it. It is just like way out there. We're watching movies here, but we're using our imaginations.
Mm-hmm.
And then desires is like, this is something that I really want to do, but it's okay if you don't want to do it. And then there were needs, like, this actually is a need. And so we really want to find a way that we can kind of find as close as we can get to that as possible. Because, you know, for example, for me, a need was kissing. Like, Raj just wasn't a big fan of kissing when we got together. And it was really a few years into it, I think it was like 3 or 4 years into it, that we were like, okay, we're going to learn 5 new kisses. And made a game out of it, because it was a need. But I love what you're saying when you take that, like, so many people are embarrassed to say a fantasy, like, oh, this means that I want it, but you give that permission to stretch those boundaries. I think you said agreements and boundaries. Is just so nice to have that container.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap this one up with the specific actions to take for the games, and then get into this pussy massage we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one thing I could say from the election, is that now pussy's been outed. Okay. If you can say it on the news, you can say it on the show. Okay, so right.
We're gonna do a little action option song.
All right, the action option. This is not a Mission Impossible. It's a Mission Impossible, but your action option. Dun, 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 da-da-da, da-da-da. That it is possible. Mission Impossible theme, but it is possible. So pick one of the 3 games, or another one that we heard, you know, like Tell Me a Story, or pick a new one and invite your beloved to play this game. And tell them of all 3 of them and ask them to pick one. And maybe they will have some colorful options that they can dream up. Okay, so that's first. Then your second step is to play full out. Have fun, like the buzzer's about to go off, like, you know, it's on prime time, but really play out. This is, again, bringing a sense of fun and passion and play to your relationship. Super, super important.
Yeah, that's one of the key things is, sometimes we get so.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And the second that you bring a little fun and play and turn up the volume, it totally can make things that much more sexy.
Humor heals. So good. Yeah, especially if there's some embarrassment or you don't want to, you know, it's just really great to bring some humor and levity to it. And then the third step, you can use the romp recap. That's just one of our tools to discuss how the sex was. So you can talk about, you know, how the game was. Was it sexy? Was it intimate? How was the technique? What would you like to change and make it even better if next time? And so you can ask, you know, is there other archetypes? You know, you might have tried on one archetype, you know, of the queen, and maybe you want to try on a different archetype, or your beloved, your partner says, well, hey, what about the superhero? You know, I even have little superhero, you know, the little arm bracelets and the belt and the whole crown. And we don't just use them on Halloween either. And then step 4, you can do this again and again and again, and just take what you learned the last time and have it be even better this time. So if it's not going exactly as you'd hoped, don't get derailed. I mentioned that earlier. You know, very often, especially, you know, for myself, you know, the man is like, okay, that's like, there's got the drive forward. But with the woman, you know, often I've heard this described as a light switch. Excuse me, a man is more like a light switch and a woman is more like a boiling pot. Often, though, it can really quickly, you just take the pot off the fire and the water stops boiling real quickly, right? It takes a long time to heat up, but not as hot. So don't get derailed if things don't go exactly the way you want them to. Don't put pressure on yourself or your partner, because remember, it's about progress, not about perfect. And it's a game. You're playing a game, learning and having fun.
Yeah, there might be some little derailments that might happen in the process of your game. And you want to continue on in the face of these derailments. You know, it's like any game. You know, when you're little and you play a game and like, I'm not playing anymore. Right?
I'm taking my marbles and going home. You screwed up.
Yeah, I found that some of our best lovemaking sessions have been when I've kind of navigated this minefield of like, oops, stepped on that one, stepped on that one.
You could tell I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not there anymore. Back, and you're like, oh, okay, I didn't even think I'd be able to come back, you know, but you know, once I got the elbow just on the skin on the leg at one point, it got pinched, and I thought for sure time was over. But no, you pulled that out. You made it into a winning moment there, honey. Yes. So, okay, so these are some specific action steps you can take. But again, the whole spirit of it is just to play a game. I love this tell me a story. Yeah. I'm going to use that to you. This is such a fun thing about doing this work, is then you then start having sexy time and fooling around with your beloved, and you start thinking of your friends. Oh, Susan, a huge thank you I can say to you. A year ago when you were on the show and you said you can stretch your orgasms like taffy. Oh my gosh. All that took, you didn't even have to tell me how to stretch them, just saying you can stretch them like taffy. And now when I'm having an orgasm, I think of you and I'm like, I could stretch that thing. I'm bouncing the boogie board all the way to shore. And they've at least doubled in length. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. I know that makes me feel so happy, because one of my favorite things is to have little hinges that swing big doors. I'm all about how a simple thing can make a huge difference. Huge difference. And
say that again. Little hinges open big doors.
Hinges swing big doors. Like one profound
that's great.
thought. Like you can stretch out that moment of climax and come longer by teaching yourself in the sensation and teaching Raj how to keep you in that, hold that stroke, keep delivering that stroke that you're getting off on. Yeah, that's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we both had to take a deep breath for that one.
Okay, well, we're gonna get to.
It's too bad we have a dinner party coming over after the show, but.
So we're gonna get to Susan and Tim's tips now, and the join the hangout button is actually live. So jump on in. If you could mute yourself, or we might mute you initially. We just wanna. And then Tim be able to share some of their tips, and you can put comments in the chat window, and we'll just play with it.
And if you don't want to join the Hangout Live, we hope you do. We have some free gifts for you if you do. But feel free, you can put your questions in the chat. We know sometimes people are more shy, but it's a family. We're supportive here. And I promise you that whatever question you have, there is so many others that have exactly the same question. It would be such a contribution. So wherever you're most comfortable, but we love taking your questions as well.
Okay, so shall I put up all the different tips?
Yeah, put them up so they can see them all there. Awesome. Where would you guys like to start?
Well, I think what we want to talk, because we've talked a little bit about agreements and scheduled sex, getting out of your heads, engorgement, all of those things. What I'd like to do is I'd actually like to show you how we do a due date.
Wow.
Just the setup.
Okay.
You've got your Oming pants on.
I'm part of the way there already.
And can you go back to because it's all about those things. So we're on our big.
Go back to what?
The screen is up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring us up. We're we're on our sofa, and our sofa is like a pull-out sofa, so it's long here, and that's why I set up.
Sarah, go ahead and show them again. Hold on just one second. I want to get it. It's on the screen showing your tips, but I wanted to show on your video. Go ahead and switch that, Sarah.
Are you telling me I need to show my tips?
What? Yeah.
We just want to make sure everybody can see you.
All right, so I don't think anyone can see me yet. I still see the tips up. Tips up.
Tips up.
Okay, I'm just checking here. One moment.
One moment.
Sometimes it takes a moment to refresh.
All right, so while we're waiting for the video to come up, because I want to show how
There it goes.
You should be on now.
position.
Yeah.
I see lots of. I still see the
Things
tips.
are
We got you.
Okay, you can't see what the viewer's seeing. You're actually on screen now. So.
Oh, we are? Okay, great. So we're going to show you how we set up for an expanded orgasm date. We do this once a week, pretty much once a week without fail.
Yeah.
But we would do it 2 or 3 times a week, given all the time, more time. We usually leave about a half an hour for it. And the agreements that we have for doing this are that I can ask for one whenever I want, and Tim really never turns me down. No. There's no agreement for intercourse or even for anything beyond the due date or the expanded orgasm date. There's nothing. It's a container.
No expectation.
But the thing is that when you can ask for it and there's no expectation, then you can lie there and you can get your genitals engorged. And engorged means filled with blood. So just like a man's penis gets erect from blood coming into the corpus cavernosum, a woman has basically a penis up inside her. That's her clitoral structure and some of the other sponges that are inside her. And you want to give her a hard-on. Basically, you want to give your lady an erection, but it's not one that you're going to see much of. But you can actually, you can give her a clitoral erection, and not just the tip of her clitoris, but the shaft. It's a baby penis, and it goes inside her, and then little legs go inside her, and little bulbs are in there, and they all get puffed up and swollen and engorged, which is what will close that orgasm gap so she can have orgasms from penetration. And so I'm going to show you how we set it up. I'm going to tilt the monitor down a little bit, and I'm going to have Tim get into his oming position, and I'm going to get into it with him, and we're going to show you how we do it. So
Great.
Tilt this down just a little bit. So Tim's usually up on a pillow or 2, and he has a really good backrest. The thing that's most important is that as the man or the doer, it could be a woman, you want to make sure the doer is very comfortable so that they can just completely relax. We're going to lock into a limbic connection. He's going to feel me. I'm going to feel him. We're going to come into one conjoined state of feeling. We're going to meld into one when we do this. And the way I do it is I'll have a pillow behind my head. Look at all these pillows. We have so many pillows. I'm going to put pillows. I'm putting pillows in the front. We have feather pillows. These feathered pillows on our sofa are going to be all over the place. So there's 2 pillows on my left leg, and then there'll be a pillow. And see, these pants are great that he wears. They're like split.
Because my legs are scratchy.
His legs are scratchy.
Dude.
He's a scratchy old dude. And then I'll put a pillow here on top of this one. He's got him under his leg so his leg doesn't go to sleep. I got a little pillow down here. And then I kind of slide in down here. How is the video? Can you see me?
I can see you. Yep.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm down here. There's my leg. I'm open and open. And now you take over and explain what you do.
So I will start just by massaging her thighs, maybe her tummy, and her mons, the mound, working my way in. And I'll do this for like 5 minutes or so, just warming up the whole area around her vagina.
There, I turned it too low.
There you go.
We can't see your face, unfortunately, but
I'm literally just lying here.
just like that. Okay.
I'm a yoni model.
She is a and then I'll work on her outer lips and massage those. Massage more on the Mon, so it's kind of like zone 2. I'm like working my way in, like 3, 2, 1. And then in zone 2, I'll spend like another 5 minutes. And the whole idea is I'm working on the engorgement. I'm getting blood into that area. I'm getting it all nice and fluffy and engorged. And then I'll move to zone 1, and I'll actually switch lubes. This outer area I'm going to use coconut oil on. But when I switch to the inner area, that zone 1, where I'm actually touching her labia minora, the inner lips, and her clit, I'll switch to avocado oil. And it's just a nice, smooth, sweet oil. And then I'll focus on doing the strokes. And this was the other pivotal thing that we learned, was the expanded orgasm practice and learning how to give Susan that.
I just want to pause just 1 second, because what you just said is so awesome about the coconut oil versus the avocado oil.
Sure.
And I hadn't thought of that, but there's so many different lubricants out there that people use, and they end up sticky, or they taste weird, or they're not good for you. But a friend of mine who makes a body skin product said, look, if you absorb like 20 to 30% skin. So if you wouldn't eat it, you shouldn't put it on your body. Yeah. And so the fact, and especially something as sensitive as the vagina, so the fact that you've got, and not just using one, I like coconut oil, or I like avocado oil, but we're going to have to test this out, Raj. But coconut on the outside, avo on the inside. This is good. So I didn't want to skip over that. That's going to be a big takeaway for us.
Yeah. And also
zone 1, avocado zone.
Exactly.
Okay, continue on.
It is.
Talk about how you place your hands, the 3 opening strokes, the bread and butter stroke. Like, explain what it is. It's actually a structured stroking technique. Look, now lie down and behave yourself.
Here's the structure technique. I'm trying to think how I'm gonna, because you can't really see it.
No.
But I put my hand under her bottom.
I lift my butt up.
Yeah, and then
sticks it under there.
And then I rest my thumb right on her intritus, and that provides.
And that's the entrance to the vagina.
That's the entrance to the vagina, and that provides like some grounding, because at the same time, after I've done my 3 opening strokes, where I'm essentially applying lube on her labia minora, just not touching her clit, like I'm building that anticipation. So this is the part where I'm bringing her up, 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 up. Even to the point where, because, we've done this so many times and Susan knows what's happening, she may even start to have orgasms before I even touch her clit.
Yeah.
So it's really fun to like build that up. But I do need to make sure that I don't bring her up too fast, because then she'll have orgasm and she'll kind of like crash down. So I need to slowly stair step it up and slowly bring it up. And that's part of reading her in the moment and also feeling her, which is one of the reasons why I really like to have my thumb right on her intritus, because I can feel the contractions. Like if she's starting to have a lot of contractions, I know to slow it down, put some pressure on the top to bring her back down into her body so she doesn't come up too fast. And then,
so when you say that you're trying to have this right pace, how do you know it's the right pace? Is that different for different women, or?
And probably different, not just for different women, but in different moments. That's why I was asking him earlier about reading, because that's so important. But you can't learn how a woman likes it. There's some generalizations, but it changes all the time.
Exactly.
Every single day.
Yeah.
I think what is it? It's a new day. It's a new pussy. Yes, you can. If that doesn't work.
No, it was working yesterday.
Let's see, where was I?
3 opening strokes.
The 3 opening strokes, which are the essentially it's part of the structure. So I haven't touched her clit yet, but I'm building up to it, applying the lube. She knows that it's coming, and she's starting to anticipate that on that 3rd stroke, I'll come actually right up the middle, right in between the inner lips, and then just slowly just land right on the head of her clit, and then start just this very, very, very gentle, like tiny little stroke, just like that. And of course, my hands are covered with avocado oil, so it's all nice and smooth.
So phase 1 is the zone 2 coconut oil massaging that brings it to the clitoris to engorgement, but without any contact. 2 is a hand underneath and the thumb at the intritus. And then 3 is the very light rub at the top. Are those the 3 main pieces? Did I get that?
Think of it like a bullseye. Like zone 3 is out here, zone 2, and then zone 1 right in the middle. And
got it.
In general,
bullseye.
right zone 1.
Yeah.
And it's the wrong thing to do. It's like you've got to get her engorged and you've got to get her ready. And then when you do finally hit zone 1, when you hit the center of that bullseye, it's just going to feel so good to her.
Yeah, if you could give just from a woman's perspective, just as a number 1 top level tip is start from the outside and work your way in. Outer edge, as you say, the bullseye here, right? But yeah, sometimes the bullseye is a bit of a magnet and people are beelining there, building some anticipation.
I feel the desire to applaud.
Yeah.
Standing ovation.
With feathers. Adds to the flair of it.
There's feathers everywhere.
I'll be wearing very high heels and a string bikini for that, though.
Yay!
It's so funny. So
now, Susan, you had mentioned earlier, you had mentioned oming, and this is called, was it a due date?
Yeah.
And so are those different practices? Are they similar? How are they similar and different? Because I've heard of the oming before, but haven't practiced it ourselves.
So there's an organization that created this stroking technique that allows you to take a woman into an orgasm and then hold her in that orgasm. Let her stretch that orgasm like taffy, and then on that and have more and more orgasms. I've come for over an hour. You just get tired and you need a drink of water.
Yeah.
And stretches legs.
Yeah,
and
my
stuff
legs
like
go to
that.
sleep, a half an hour.
But usually we just do, a half an hour, and then he takes a break and stretches his legs, and I play with his dick or something like that, and if I want some more, he'll do some more. But what this set of techniques is standardized because it works. And our version of it is called Expand Her Orgasm Tonight. And we teach all the strokes. We have an entire due date in video, close up, so you can see exactly what you're doing. We have audios that explain how it works. And we have 21 play dates. They're called sandbox dates, where you can practice different facets of learning how to be a good doer or to be done well. And
there's 21 of those games that people could play.
What we did was we broke it down into 21 games to play to learn how to do this, how to feel each other really well, how to drop into that limbic connection together so that he can take over my nervous system and take me on an orgasmic ride that gets me fully engorged and filled up with orgasms so that I'm super turned on and just generally everything feels great. So,
and I love you when you call it Expand Her Orgasm Tonight. That insinuates that they can learn these skills and apply them immediately, which I love that. It's like, can you learn something? I mean, like, because I'm going to get the coconut and avocado oil out.
Yeah, you just watch the technique videos and you'll get the whole system. You'll get the 3 opening strokes. You'll get the how to sit and how to set yourself up. You'll get the how to find her spot. You'll learn as the woman how to let him know when he's on the spot, and he'll learn how to stay and deliver. He'll learn how to peak, which takes you to the next level. He'll learn things like intentional downstrokes. There's a lot of things you can learn in this practice. as you get better and better and better. It's a gift that keeps on giving. But it's the same thing as orgasmic meditation.
How's that for stocking stuffer?
Stuff's definitely stuffer. It's the same as orgasmic meditation taught by One Taste, in that the strokes are the same. What's different is that that's really a genital massage by people who aren't lovers, and our version is the lovers version that has eye contact, and it's very much more of a tantric lovers technique rather than just something you get your pussy stroked by someone else and have an orgasm. And so it's the same techniques. They are replicable. Everyone and anyone can do them. All women can come this way. All men and women can do a woman and have her have this. Our version is just the lover's version. And
love that.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, it's a huge breakthrough for us.
For me, it helped me for the first time at 45 or 6 or 7, somewhere in there, have my first penetration orgasms. It was the thing that helped me really just go from being, I could have a few small, more males-oriented climaxes, you know, like I'd come and I'd be done kind of a thing, and I could do a couple of those. But now, like you learned, stretching that moment of orgasm out, you can just have an incredible time. And so it makes it so much easier for us to want to have more sex together after 25 years of marriage, because I know he can deliver incredible sensation to me. And then when he does that, I'm so turned on for him, and I want to be even closer to him, that it's just a really great experience for couples. It was
That's amazing.
It was the first or second product we ever made.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Well, we can't wait to check that out. Now, are the different things that you spoke about on these points, this tip slide, or are there additional things that you want to share?
We've been jumping around a bit on these, but we're
talking about
moving a tapestry.
Yeah, we've touched on all of them.
So why you stink at scheduled sex is because you expect it to be you expect that if you schedule it, it's going to be boring. It's not going to be boring if you have an expanded orgasm practice together. And you can do it to any woman. If you're a guy and let's just say you're divorced and you're re-entering the dating market, it's a very safe sex kind of a thing to do with a woman before you ever get involved in anything that's like intercourse, where you need to get tested before you have sex. And, you know, that's all sketch, that whole thing, because there's so many things going around out there. So scheduling your expanded orgasm dates is the workaround to keeping your sex hot. Agreements and boundaries, like I don't have, if all he does is give me some orgasms for 20 minutes and then that's all I want that day, he doesn't get mad because he knows there's always tomorrow. So it's not like he's getting reacted, which is great. Getting out of your head and into your body is really, it's about him taking control of my nervous system and calming me down and taking me into that bliss of an expanded orgasm date that really allows us to let go into pleasure together. That expanded orgasm date gets you out of your head and into your body. You just relax and surrender. So that's important. It engorges you because it's a pussy massage that moves into a stroking technique that gives you orgasm, so you can close that orgasm gap. And then, you know, you can go from there. But really, to me, the expanded orgasm experience for couples is the #1 technique that we teach that I think makes the biggest impact for any person's sex life, both man or woman. And I would also say that there are a lot of benefits for the man to becoming a doer, a good stroker. Maybe you want to talk to us about a couple of those.
Well,
be a good stroker. I love that. I'm going to write that one down. Become a good stroker here.
Exactly.
And before you go into them, I just wanted to say, Susan, that I really appreciate the distinction between the One Taste Oming and what you're doing here, because, you know, lots of people have introduced us to the Oming, even so there's videos for it, and it just didn't seem attractive to us. and I didn't realize why, but it's because it wasn't delivered in the context of a couple.
Yeah, it's transactional.
Yeah, I have one friend that she says she stops by and sees a guy once a week, and on that day he sees like 7 women and he owns them all. And I was like, okay, that's just not how I'm holding it. Like, great, I'm glad it's a nice service that's available in the world to those who need it. But this seems just so much more attractive when you're bringing the best of those both worlds of this practice that keeps you, that stirs up energy but keeps it focused, that has those boundaries in it, but has that level of intimacy and connection as well. It's not just this physical process. So thank you for modeling that quite literally so well.
So
you were gonna say, I just wanted to slip that in beforehand.
I think the main benefit of learning the stroking technique is that it's a really easy yes for Susan.
Yeah.
So, and scheduling that instead of scheduling sex is just so much easier, because we're essentially scheduling a massage, and she's pretty much always going to say yes to a massage. That there's the container around it. So now for me, and I love to get my hands on her gorgeous yoni. Like, I just love to get my hands on it. It's complete. It's very connected, it's very sweet. And if things go well, and most of the time they go well, but
not all the time. Sometimes I'm like, no, I can't settle. I just, how it is sometimes,
Yeah. So sometimes I just can't get her into her body. In which case, then we just say, all right,
let's watch TV.
Yeah, let's just close this. What are you doing tomorrow? let's set up a massage date for tomorrow.
That's so great. That's what we were talking about, of not having like one thing, have it, have some levity about it. And it's not going to be, out of a sex scene of a movie every single time, or even, all of the time. And that we're creating this game and this exploration together. I'm really excited about this new practice here, honey.
Yeah, the other thing just adds another layer to your sex life, right? Because you may be stuck. I love what you're saying, Tim. Often there seems to be a pressure around lovemaking. Like, is she going to come? Is she going to be satisfied? Can I last as long as she wants me to?
And the woman might be thinking, okay, how long is this going to take? I'm not feeling really into it. Okay, what's the
So it really seems just to create a way to increase the sexuality in your relationship from a totally new perspective. So totally love that.
Definitely.
It's also really good for genital atrophy. So, for example, if you haven't had a lot of sex, it gets everything juicy and flowing again. If you're going through menopause and you're feeling like there's ground glass in your vaginal canal, bringing blood and engorgement very slowly to your yoni gets rid of that problem. And also, you can have a due date for your man too. So a lot of women are like, well, that seems really one way. And I say, oh no, it's not, because a man's job and his primal desire is to give his woman incredible pleasure. So you're giving him the gift of your orgasmic pleasure. You're surrendering your nervous system to him. You're entrusting him with your pleasure. That's huge for guys, and women don't really understand that.
Yeah.
But you can also take him with your hands. You can give him a due date, and maybe you'll have us back next year again, and we'll do the man's due date and tell you about that.
Yes, awesome.
It doesn't have to be a year. We have our next season coming up at the beginning of the year. So.
I was just going to want you guys on every season.
Come on now, Susan. All right, well, let's show where people can get some more information in your free gift here. So we have up on screen. You want to talk to this a little bit?
Yeah, we've been talking about the expanded orgasm, which I'm going to be looking for myself. But I've also the product of theirs that we have used, that we've mentioned not just on this show but on many shows, is when we talk about steamy sex ed. And so, Susan, if you want to let them know a little bit about this free gift, because as we said at the earlier part of the show, this is such a great one, no matter which video you're watching, you know, from just creating the vibe to actually learning some really awesome new techniques, to even just moving past embarrassment barriers, you know? Even just going through the DVD series, we were like, honey, look at what this one is. Okay, which one do you want to watch first?
I suggest that you watch them all one by one and do all the things to each other that are in them. There's over 200 techniques. And every time Tim and I watch that darn thing, because we haul it out all the time, we're like, all right, we're going to have a sale on our Steamy Sex Ed program. Like, I need to write a few more emails about it. So what am I going to notice about it when I watch it? And every time I watch it, I'm like, we used to do that and we forgot, or I never saw that before, but now I can't stop thinking about it. I need that done to me immediately, or I want to do it to you. Lord of the Rings or something. And I was like, I never thought of that. Those techniques you can't imagine, and it's created for couples to watch together. It's like the antidote to porn. It's heart-connected lovemaking techniques for couples. And it's safe for you to watch them together so that you can learn new things to do to each other. You cannot think up all this good stuff. There's so many great things in there. But the free gift is just my gift about how to have a really sexy fantasy life together as a couple. How to have agreements and boundaries, suggested agreements and boundaries that'll make it really easy for your partner to open up to you and to share their fantasies, or even how you can fuel their fantasies and give them ideas. Because that's what you did for me at first, when I just couldn't even think about anything that would even turn me on. It was just like, I don't know, like it was like there was like nothing going on in there from a fantasy perspective. And so Tim slowly taught me how to have a fantasy life and share it with him. And I put a lot of that in, I put all of that into this free video. And then when you get the video, I also send you an ebook with all the information, because I'm like you, Gabby. I really like how you have both the video of us as well as the slide presentation, because I think it's really great to learn in multiple ways. So that is yours with my.
I have a background in learning theory, and I know that people have lots of different learning styles, and we're such visual people. And there's nothing, this is why we do this live, there's nothing like authenticity and the intimacy, but one of my favorite words is both. So why not have, the slides where we put things up visually for people and get to see your beautiful live faces in video as well.
Great. I love it.
So we are just wrapping up, but I want to point out on this slide here that you can check out Personal Life Media top level, but you can also use this link here. And Sarah, if you'd copy it and put it in the comments as well, to get not only your free gift with this top 10 fantasy sex techniques, but it'll also then send you follow-up information if you'd like to check out Steamy Sex Ed, which I strongly recommend, of course. And this expanded orgasm one, honey. This was we got to put this on my Christmas list here now. So you can go to Personal Life Media and find out about that one as well. Is that where, if someone wants to find expanded orgasm, should they go to Personal Life Media?
Yeah, it's everything we do is there. There'll be articles. You can look. You can just type in the search bar at the top of our website, Expanded Orgasm, and you'll see 30 articles talking about it with links to it and things like that. Or you can go to Expand Her Orgasm Tonight. But Gabby, for your Christmas present, I'll be sending you a bottle of organic avocado oil from Amazon. My favorite.
Send it to me.
We like a brand called Hobie, H-O-B-E, Hobie Organic Avocado Oil. It's very viscous, very nice, 100% pure and organic, and it's great for stroking.
Yeah.
And we'll be sending you that with a copy of Expand Her Orgasm Tonight. Thank you for having me.
Love it.
Oh, thank you
great
so
to
much.
see both of you. So also, if you want to,
I got one of those perma-grins, when you're like been
right?
smiling so long, your smile starts to hurt, and that always happens. Your interviews are always, they're one fun. Like, you're just a delightful couple to be with and engage with, and so informative. And they're usually, like a little bit like on the edgy side when you're like, okay, he's got his pants on and we're going to do the due date. I was like, okay, really? We'll see where this is going today. So it always keeps us on our titillated toes, which I just love as well.
that's a new,
Titillated toes, a new alliteration there. Yes, on our titillated toes. So if you're watching this on replay, or if you're watching this live, stay tuned. We'll give you the link for these free gifts. cheat sheet if you want to go ahead and log in there. But Raj, go ahead. We want to show them what's coming up next week. If you show them.
So let's look at next week's show.
Yep, we have Annie Lala and Ebbing Pagan, and we were talking about Sex Dirty this week. So next week we'll be talking about how to keep the fights clean. This is during. So how do you get out of an argument and into an alliance? And Eben and Annie, they taught us one of our favorite tips that we use in the middle of an argument called the soothing mantra. Different than the stroking mantra, you know, but the soothing mantra. And we look forward to having them join us next week.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that show. This couple is amazing, and you're bound to learn some really powerful tips on keeping the fights clean during, which is one of the most challenging parts of being in arguments is during, and how do you pull the ejector? How do you get out of that?
Yeah, when the lower brain, the amygdala, the fight or flight is taking over, how can you put a stop to that and return to who you really know yourselves to be as a loving couple? So we'll do that next week. We have just a bit on our free gift here. We mentioned that link before, but you'll get our 4-part email mini course and our guidebook on how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty. This is our relationship reset kit. So that's also in the comments if you're new to Relationship Fun and Games and you want to get in on the goods there. That's a great place to start.
Yeah, so the URL there is relationshipfunandgames.com/get-free-gifts-main with dashes in between those.
Great. And then finally, we just want to introduce you to our ebook with over 60 pages with dozens and dozens of tips and the 5 simple steps to solutions that really satisfy. So you're welcome to check that out. And then Raj, if you go to our last slide, it'll just give you those links and URLs again to find out more about Susan and Tim and Personal Life Media. Oh, Raj, I got to get a little screenshot of the two of you here on the computer. Oh my gosh, you're so darn cute. I just took a picture of you guys. I'll send it to you. This is why we like to have couples. Tim, again, I know you're the tech genius behind the screen, behind the curtain, and it's a rarity for you to join these interviews, but it's always so much fun and just makes such a difference to be with the couple together. To see her reach over and touch your hair and you reached over mid-interview and put your arm around her, it's just obviously the modeling wouldn't have been the same without you. So thank you so much for joining us and contributing all that you have to couples and single people.
Thank you.
Love you, love you, love you. Yeah, thanks so much for being on the show tonight. And for the audience, we hope to see you next week. Same Relationship Fun and Games Fights Clean Sex Dirty time and channel.
Wednesdays, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thanks so much for joining us. And here's to you having a playful, peaceful, passionate relationship because it's worth it and you deserve it. Yes. Woohoo. Cheers. 3 cheers for that, right? Hip, hip, hooray for a playful, peaceful, passionate relationship. Good night, everyone.
Good night.